Alright, so today I want to give you an update on my Dubia roach colonies. And let me tell you, I definitely don't consider myself to be a bug guy. I'm more of a snake guy. You know, I specialize in ball pythons. And as a matter of fact, my reticulated python laid some eggs this year, so I'm more into snakes than anything else. But on the side, I always keep just kind of random pets here in the house. I've had different pets over the years. I've had some leopard geckos. I have some crested geckos up in my bedroom. I actually have a Pac-Man frog. And as a matter of fact, it was the Pac-Man frog that got me into Dubia roaches. And they were really super expensive at the pet store. As a matter of fact, if you go to some of your reptile shows, sometimes they'll sell them for $1 a roach, which is absolutely unbelievable. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of dabble in breeding some of these feeder insects. And I've kept crickets before, never really had that much luck breeding crickets. I tried breeding mealworms. I'd say I had limited success. Seemed like the mealworms were a lot of work. And then I got into Dubia roaches. And I don't know what it is. I've been breeding them here in my reptile room. And I must just hit the conditions just right as far as temperature and humidity and food and everything else. But let me tell you, those things are multiplying out of control. I can't believe how many Dubia roaches I'm producing now. And what I want to do in this video, I want to show you my setup and how I have it set up, what I'm feeding them. And it's really super easy the way I have it set up. I have so many roaches. You're not going to believe how many roaches I crammed in these tanks. And I actually started selling them online, and people have been buying them like crazy. As a matter of fact, when I first started, I was feeding most of them to my chickens because I had so many I didn't really know what to do with them. And then I started selling them on different places online and started getting regular customers. And just this week, I had one guy buy over 2 pounds of Dubia roaches, and he said he wants to place an order every month for 2 pounds of Dubia roaches, which is kind of crazy. And last week I shipped out probably like 3 pounds of roaches, and then this week I'm shipping out another 3 pounds. I'm shipping out so much, it's pretty unbelievable. And it's unbelievable that they keep reproducing so fast that they're keeping up with all this demand. I sat down, I figured out kind of my expenses and how much I'm making. Believe it or not, I'm making about $7,000 a year breeding Dubia roaches, and about $6,000 of that is profit. So not a lot of investment, which is pretty crazy. It's a pretty good return on investment. And I'd say in the morning when I come down here, I usually just have to top off the waters, maybe give them a little bit of food. And it only takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes once a day just to kind of to take care of them. And then once a week, I'm just boxing them up and shipping them out. It's pretty easy breeding Dubia roaches, even though, you know, I'm not that much of a bug guy. But this is just pretty amazing how much money I'm making just on just a few small colonies. So what I'm gonna do is I want to show you how I got these set up. I'd say it's completely different than a lot of people have it set up. I'm actually using glass aquariums instead of a dark plastic, and they are doing fantastic. So what I'm gonna do is I want to show you some of these Dubia roach colonies and show you kind of the supplies I'm using too, as far as packing them up and shipping them too. Alright, so here is my reptile room, pretty much wall to wall with snake racks in here. And I kind of rearranged everything. What I actually did is I moved Lucy, my reticulated python, over here in this enclosure. She absolutely loves it over here. And then one of my recent additions, I'd say maybe about 6 months ago, I completely revamped everything, and I had just like a storage shelf here, and I switched out the shelves and I brought in this wire shelf that I had out in the garage, and I actually had these out in the barn, these glass enclosures. And these are actually critter cages that you can buy. I think about these at one of the big box pet stores, and they have just a screen on top, and then it's a glass aquarium. It's not really designed for water per se, like not really like a fish aquarium. It's designed for like reptiles, and it's been working so good, it's unbelievable. So what I do, these actually just slide right off, and the first thing I do in the morning is just slide off the tops. And then you have to be careful, because if you have water with these roaches, they'll actually drown in the water. So you need, let's see, I'm actually using right now, I'm using these water storing crystals in the water. And if you have roaches and they start smelling really bad, I can almost guarantee 99% of the time it's from your water going bad. You have to keep, you know, changing your water. I'd say at least once a week, go in there and scrub the whole thing. And I use like a chlorhexidine solution to spray it down. And what I do for the water, I just use a little bit in one of these deli cups that I use in my snake tubs. And then I just kind of top it off just a little bit in the morning. And just get enough water to where it's hydrated, but you don't want the roaches to drown in it. And then what I found, pretty much the best food, the only thing that I've been using, take a look at this. This is the Missouri 6F rodent breeder food that I feed my rats, and I start throwing this in there. This is the only thing they eat, and they're doing fantastic just on this. Now when I first started, I started crushing this up and putting the powder in there, but the problem is they go to the bathroom and it kind of mixes in with the powder, and this seems like it keeps a lot better, and they can chew on this and completely eat it. And I go through quite a bit of food. I'd say probably my biggest expenses on this is the food. That's probably the biggest expense, and then of course the shipping supplies. But the food, I probably go through like every other day. I fill up one of these 16-ounce deli cups per enclosure, so they're going through a whole cup of the rodent breeder food every other day per tank, which is kind of crazy. And I have like 2 main tanks right here that are just absolutely packed with roaches. And then on the bottom, I have one that I'm in the process of cleaning. So if you notice this one, it's been going for like probably 6 months, and you can see it kind of builds up a lot of stuff on the bottom. And to clean them, what I do is I'll actually take all the egg crates out of the bottom and then shake it into these, and then put the egg crates back. And then as the roaches crawl back up on the egg crates over a couple days, I'll keep taking them out and shaking them into this. And then once I get most of it out, I'll basically just take all the bedding, throw it out with my chickens. The chickens kind of pick through the roaches that are left in the bedding, and I'll actually recover most of them. But if you look at these roaches, it's deceiving because a lot of them are hiding. You have no clue. Take a look at this. How many roaches I have in here. They're like on top of each other. And it's like layer after layer after layer. Take a look at all the roaches. There's so many roaches. And I think the trick to breeding them is to getting them this thick, where there's just tons and tons, where they're actually standing on top of each other. That's how many roaches you want, because then you're like really super highly productive as far as how many roaches you can breed. And you can just start peeling back the layers, and there's so many roaches. There's probably like 10 pounds of roaches per tank in each one of these. It's unbelievable how many roaches are in these. And the egg crates, I basically have been using the same egg crates for, I'd say every few months I'll change out the egg crates when I clean the enclosures. I get the egg crates for free at my local feed store. They have people just bringing them in and giving you egg crates. So, you know, I've actually seen where, you know, people are buying egg crates online for like $1 a piece, which if you find the right spot, you can get them for free. And as far as shipping them out, so this is how I ship them out. So in order to get them out of here and get them to the customer, I know some people, what they'll do is they'll sort them and they'll count them and all that stuff. Let me tell you, you definitely don't need to do that. What I do is I sell a mixed colony of assorted sizes. So what I do is I just like pull out one of the egg cartons right out of there that's full of the roaches. I don't count them, I don't sort them. You basically get what you get. And I put them in a bucket like this. So I actually have my demo cup right here. Let me give you a little light here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. If I can get this light to bend down a little bit. So what I'll do is, well, first of all, you want to take one of those tanks and you want to put it on the table because you don't want to lose any roaches in the house. And then what I do is I take the tub, this 5-gallon bucket with one hand, put it right over the open enclosure, and then with the other hand, so I don't lose any roaches, I'll pull this out and I'll put it in the tub, or in the 5-gallon bucket, just like this. And then I'll just kind of bang it back and forth a little bit and shake it a little bit and shake them all down just like that. And I'll get a whole bunch of roaches on the bottom. And then from there, what I do is I actually buy these deli cups. These are snake deli cups that I used to sell the ball pythons at the reptile shows in. I haven't used these for a long time because I haven't been selling at the shows. I sell all my snakes online now. And then what I'll do is I'll hold this over the open enclosure, and then at the same time, I'll pour these into this little deli cup here. And then I'll take this and I'll weigh it, and I'll fill it up until I get well, I usually go over 100 grams. I sell 100 grams per little deli cup here. And 100 grams I'm selling for 10 bucks. So if you look at, you know, a thing full of adults, that's probably, I don't know, 30 cents, 40 cents a piece or something like that, if you're looking at adults. And if I get down to where it's like the really small ones, so, you know, I mix, sometimes I'll have a lot of small ones in there, sometimes I'll have just a few big ones. And then usually what I do is I kind of look at, I open it up and I kind of look at, you know, if there's any that are kind of hurt or damaged or anything like that, I'll pull those out. If there's too many males, I know some people kind of frown on too many males, so I'll kind of pick out some of the males and get more of a 50-50 ratio if it's kind of leaning one way or the other. And then what I'll do is I'll pull one of these pieces of paper towels, fold it in half. This is like one of the halves. And this is kind of tricky too, because you want to do this without losing any roaches. So far I haven't really lost a lot of roaches around here. Every now and then one will jump out and I'll like, all right, I got to stop, I got to catch that roach. And it hasn't been that bad. But what I'll do is I'll fill this with 100 grams, then I'll put this right on the top. Then I'll put the cover on just like this. And then once the cover's on, I'll tape it on two sides with packing tape, and then I'll flip it upside down. So you'll have roaches on a paper towel during shipping, and this is what it'll actually look like. And then I go to Uline and I buy boxes. You can go to Uline and buy boxes of any size, you know, and I actually buy boxes that'll fit 6 containers, because a lot of people buy anywhere from 1 to 6 in a smaller box. And then I have a bigger box that'll hold 7 to 12 containers in a real big box. So one guy's buying like 2 pounds a month. That's 10 containers, and that'll fit in a big box, which is pretty crazy. So that's like, it really, well, you actually have a little bit more shipping with the big box because the big box weighs more. But that's pretty much it. It's been going really good, and these things are so productive. I can't even believe it. And a lot of times you look at people's colonies and they have like a really sparse colony with just a few roaches running around. It's not really like jam-packed with all those roaches in there. And let me tell you, once you get to this point, as long as you don't sell out most of your roaches, they multiply like crazy. If you get to the point where, say for example, if I went in there and pulled out 90% of these roaches, I'd have to like shut down production probably for a month. I wouldn't be able to ship anything out until my colony completely recovered and I got a lot of those breeders back. But let me tell you, with this many breeders, there's so many roaches in these tanks, it's unbelievable. So that is my setup, and it doesn't really take that much space. You know, it's only like I think it's like a 4-foot wire shelf, and I have 3 of them on there, and I'm making that much money mainly with just 2 tanks. I don't even have my 3rd tank really cranking away. Once I get that going, I'll make even more money. And man, if you had, I mean, you could really do a big roach. You could do a big roach operation if you had a room like this and just had, you know, rack after rack after rack. Especially if you had them on wheels and you can just kind of pack them together, man, you could have a really big roach operation. Which, you know, I'm not really looking to expand, but I was actually surprised at how much money you can make with just a few tanks just like this. And then as far as the atmospheric conditions here in my reptile room, the ambient conditions, I'm running 80 degrees, so it's 80 degrees on a space heater. I have a space heater over here. And then I have my humidifier. So the humidifier is like a big swamp cooler, and it actually runs on a humidity controller over here. And my humidity controller is set at 56% humidity. That's what I'm running here in my reptile room. And here's my humidity probe way over here. So that pretty much turns the humidifier on and off to keep it at 56%. But yeah, it's been doing fantastic. I thought, hey, if you wanna see what it's like breeding roaches long term, once in a while it'll get really stinky in here. that's when you definitely know when it gets stinky. What you need to do is you need to pull out your water bowls and completely scrub them down. And then I actually take them out of the tanks and I'll put them on the table, and then I'll use some water crystals and water to try to get the consistency right before I'll put them back in there with the roaches, because you want enough water where they can drink out of it, but you don't want too much where they'll drown. So it's kind of tricky getting the right amount of water crystals in those little water dishes. And so so I thought I'd give you a quick update on the crazy roaches. The one thing that kind of freaked me out at first is getting over the idea of, you know, some of them crawling on your skin. It's a little bit, you can kind of get freaked out. But let me tell you, roaches don't bite. They really can't hurt you at all. So there's really it's kind of a weird reaction when you first get them and you start working with actually picking them up and having them crawl on your hands. That's the one thing I had to get over at the beginning, but now that I've been doing it for a long time, it's like second nature, no problem at all. All right, so that is my update on the Dubia roaches. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. And if you're interested in breeding Dubia roaches, there's some pretty good money in it, pretty good side income. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.